The year is 2025. A trade war rages across the Atlantic. On one side, the United States, led by President Trump, is known for its aggressive economic policies. On the other, Canada and the European Union, long-standing allies now forced to defend their interests. The battleground, tariffs, those age-old tools of economic warfare. The conflict erupted in March 2025. The Trump administration, citing national security concerns, slapped hefty tariffs on key Canadian imports. Steel, aluminum, and various industrial products were suddenly subject to a 25% import tax. This move, according to the White House, was meant to protect American jobs and industries from unfair competition. However, critics argue that these tariffs are nothing more than protectionist measures. They claim that the real goal is to shield inefficient American industries from the winds of global competition. Whatever the motivation, one thing is clear: this trade war has far-reaching consequences for both sides of the border. Canada refused to back down. Former Prime Minister Trudeau, usually known for his diplomatic approach, responded with a firm hand. Canada retaliated with its own set of tariffs. These targeted $29.8 billion worth of American goods, imposing a 25% tax on imports ranging from orange juice to ketchup. But Canada didn't stop there. The federal government announced an additional $30 billion in tariffs, this time targeting a broader range of American products. This tit-for-tat exchange of tariffs escalated the trade war, raising prices for consumers and businesses on both sides of the border. The impact was immediate. Canadian steelworkers faced layoffs as American buyers balked at the higher prices. American farmers saw their exports dwindle as Canadian consumers turned to alternative sources. The trade war, once a distant threat, was now a painful reality. The trade war took an unexpected turn when individual Canadian provinces entered the fray. British Columbia, a province heavily reliant on trade with the United States, decided to take matters into its own hands. Their target is Alaska. British Columbia is discussing implementing tariffs specifically targeting American trucks traveling through the province. This move was designed to disrupt the flow of goods between the lower 48 states and Alaska, which relies heavily on Canadian transportation routes. The Alaska Highway, a 2,450 kilometers lifeline connecting Alaska to the rest of the United States, runs directly through British Columbia and the Yukon Territory. Over 80% of goods destined for Alaska travel along this vital artery. By targeting trucking on this route, British Columbia aimed to pressure the American government by squeezing a vulnerable point in its economic infrastructure. The impact on Alaska was swift and severe. Shipping costs for essential goods skyrocketed, driving up prices for consumers already grappling with the rising cost of living. Supermarket shelves, once stocked with American products, began to show signs of strain. Alaska's tourism industry, a crucial sector of the state's economy, also felt the heat. Many cruise lines that once made regular stops in Alaskan ports found themselves navigating a complex web of tariffs and trade barriers. Tourist numbers dwindled, dealing a blow to local businesses that rely on the influx of summer visitors. The situation in Alaska highlighted the interconnectedness of the North American economy and the unintended consequences of trade wars. What began as a dispute over steel and aluminum had now morphed into a regional crisis, impacting the lives of ordinary Americans and Canadians alike. While the trade war raged on, a significant shift was taking place on the global stage. Canada, traditionally reliant on the United States as its primary trading partner, began to diversify its economic relationships. The focus is strengthening ties with Asia, particularly China. The Trans Mountain Expansion, or TMX pipeline, a controversial project aimed at increasing Canadian oil exports to Asia, became operational in 2025. China, eager to reduce its dependence on American energy, welcomed the influx of Canadian oil. The TMX pipeline now carries 890,000 barrels of Canadian crude oil to Chinese ports daily. This newfound partnership extended beyond oil. The LNG Canada project, a massive liquefied natural gas export facility, also came online in 2025, further cementing Canada's role as a key energy supplier to China. As the United States retreated behind protectionist walls, Canada was busy forging new alliances and securing its economic future. As the trade war dragged on, economists and policy analysts sounded the alarm. The tariffs, they argued, were doing more harm than good. American businesses were losing access to vital Canadian resources, while consumers faced higher prices for everyday goods. This is a self-inflicted wound, warned renowned economist Paul Krugman. The tariffs are hurting American businesses and consumers while doing little to address the underlying issues in the U.S. economy. Others pointed to the damage being done to America's reputation as a reliable trading partner. "The world is watching," said former U.S. Trade Representative Charlene Barshevsky. This kind of protectionism sends a dangerous message and undermines the rules-based trading system that the United States helped to create. As the US-Canada trade war raged on, another major player decided to enter the fray: the European Union. The EU announced a series of countermeasures aimed at mitigating the impact of US tariffs on European businesses. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen stated, "We cannot stand idly by while our industries suffer. The United States must understand that their unilateral actions have consequences." The EU's response included targeted tariffs on American goods such as agricultural products, automobiles, and technology. This move was designed to exert maximum pressure on key sectors of the US economy, hoping to force Washington to reconsider its tariff strategy. Analysts noted that this escalation could have far-reaching implications, potentially dragging other global economies into the conflict. European businesses, particularly in the automotive and aerospace industries, voiced their support for the EU's stance. "We need to protect our interests," said Dieter Zetsche, former CEO of Daimler AG. "The US tariffs are unfair and detrimental to free trade." However, the situation also sparked concerns about a broader global trade war. With multiple fronts now open, the risk of prolonged economic instability loomed large. As one EU official put it, "We are entering uncharted waters. The stakes have never been higher." The involvement of the European Union added a new layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. How this evolving trade war will shape the future remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the global economic landscape is undergoing a seismic shift. The trade war between the United States and Canada entered its most difficult era with no end in sight. The economic consequences were becoming increasingly apparent, with both nations feeling the strain. The question on everyone's mind: what comes next? Some analysts held out hope for a negotiated settlement. "Cooler heads must prevail," urged former Canadian ambassador to the US, David McNaughton. "Both sides need to come to the table and find a way to de-escalate this conflict." Others, however, were less optimistic. The political climate, they argued, had become too toxic for meaningful dialogue. The trade war, they feared, had morphed into a proxy battle for larger geopolitical struggles, with the future of the US-Canada relationship hanging in the balance. As we navigate through these turbulent times, the complexities of international trade have never been more evident. The US-Canada trade war, intertwined with tensions involving the European Union, has created a labyrinth of economic and political challenges. What are your thoughts on this trade war between the USA, Canada, and the European Union? Let us know in the comments below. Your insights and perspectives are invaluable as we try to make sense of this intricate global puzzle. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates.